What's up, Carla?
What's up, Chris? How are
Season
you?
3.
Woo, woo. It's been a while.
It has been a while. We took some time off. We had a ton of really great guests. We took some time off for ourselves, but also because we wanted to queue up the next group of folks who are going to join us over the next like 6 to 7 weeks, because we're really going to try to highlight a lot of the folks that will be joining us at Big Pictures Conference, Big Bang,
Big
South
Bang.
Florida, July 24th through 27th, I think is the dates. But over the next 6 weeks, please join us in the Cup of Joy Cafe to hear from some of our presenters. And of course, please join us at Big Bang itself. Whoo! How you doing, Carla?
I'm well. I'm so excited. I love doing Cup of Joys with you. So, and I'm excited because it's June 1st, and I know that that's kind of the theme of today's episode. I mean, I'm always excited for today's theme because it is my life. But yeah, how are you?
What you didn't actually mention, like, what is June 1st? Why is that significant?
Well, it's the beginning of Pride Month.
Which
Yeah.
is
Which, I mean, how would you describe Pride Month, Chris?
thank you for putting me on the spot. I appreciate that. I think it's a celebration of a lot of different queer communities. And I think what I'd really like to talk to our guests about is like how to do that authentically, right?
Yes.
Because I think we often find on June 1st, big picture included, you see a lot of folks change their logo, but how does that actually sort of seep into the work itself? And more importantly, how does it seep into the work beyond June?
I agree. Yes.
So without further ado, should we welcome our guest?
Yes, please. Yes.
Michelle, what is up?
Hi, Michelle.
What's up,
Michelle,
everybody?
we, of course, know you, admire you, but I wonder if you'll tell the folks who are watching this who you are and where you are.
Sure. My name is Michelle Portilla. I am an advisor at the Met School in Providence, Rhode Island, and I've been doing that for 14 years.
Fantastic. And if I might say, before Carla kicks this off, not only are you an advisor at the Met School, you are a past winner of Big Picture's Advisor of the Year award, which we've just closed the window on this year's nomination process. So I'm actually very excited because one of my responsibilities this week is to look at the advisors that have been nominated for the 22 award, because I draw so much inspiration from that. And Michelle, you and I met, I think, previous to you actually winning the award, but I've drawn a ton of inspiration from you as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
This is my cue. Sorry. It's been so long.
No, like it's 5 or 6 weeks since we've had the Cup of Joy.
I know. Okay, Michelle. One, I love you for being authentic, and I love you for the work that you do, especially being an advisor and just the position that, that's a position I've never had, but a position that I've experienced as a student. I guess I'm over here like a panel. One of the questions that I have for you is, what does it mean to be you authentically in the work that you do?
Well, I think that for me, wearing these layers of identity as a Latina, as a lesbian, as a masculine presenting woman, it's been a little bit of a challenge over time to kind of get comfortable in that, and to really recognize that, like, one of the reasons I love working with students is because they keep it real all the time, and like you cannot fake it. You have to be exactly who you are, and I think what my time has taught me is that the more authentically I can show up, the more I give my students and the people around me, not even my students, other kids in the building, other staff, permission to show up as themselves as well. I'll never not know the first time I saw a woman of color who looked like me, like in a professional setting. Like I will always carry that woman with me. Shout out to Dolita Cathcart. And that for me is important. And it's what I try to do in my work, is just to be myself and be who I am, and wear my identity proudly, and also make sure that kids think about the intersections of that as well. Oftentimes when we talk about the identity of being Latinx, we talk about it in a straight sense. And when we talk about being queer, we talk about it in a white sense. And I am both.
Yes.
And I carry both of those worlds. And at times I'm, leaning this way or leaning that way, but that's my reality.
Oh my God. So I feel that 100%, obviously being Latina and also being queer. And then kind of there's always a separation, but there's always that middle that you're trying to find. And it's really hard to find, especially in communities and the way that you often have to navigate the world.
Right.
That just really hit home right now. And I'm like, wow. Chris, do you have any questions? Sorry, I'm like,
Yeah, so I'm gonna lean into sort of my naivete on this to some extent, because I think when these discussions come up, I am in this sort of scenario. I'm the cis male, right? So what what is that? Who am I, and how can I use that to support both of you? How do you see support coming from effective allies, hopefully like me? But how do I do that? I know it's not my place to ask how to do that, but I'm curious about what you see that works in an ally community.
You know, from my lens on the teacher front, we talk about it a lot in class, in the ways that each of us carry our own identities. And to be an ally to me as a Latina, as a lesbian, as a New Yorker, whatever, right? Like, to be an ally to me means that you see me as a whole human and you respect the person that I've showed you. And that goes, you know, it's a reciprocal relationship. Like, I want to be an ally to you as well. And part of that is, for me, the thing that gets under my skin the most is the like performative piece. Like, I hate that. You know, like, don't care about me today because it's June 1st. Care about me every day because I'm a human that you see and you value and you respect. And that's what we talk about in our work often with students, you know. And honestly, I think young people are way better at it than older people, to be honest with you, especially on the queer front, but across the board, I would say.
And then I would add, Chris, that using your privilege, I think, is super important as well. And using your voice and that privilege in the way that oftentimes, like, I don't feel comfortable using my voice. You know, your voice has power that unfortunately carries more weight depending on who you're talking to. So if there's any way that you can use that to support communities of color, queer communities, or any community, I think that's what I'd recommend, even though I know you already do that.
Thank you, but I think we can always do better, and that I take that to heart. Michelle, I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind, like, we know that there are places in the country where saying gay, right, talking to your students about your or their identity is increasingly not only being frowned upon, but legislated against, right? So don't see that as much in big picture schools, maybe not so much in Providence right now, but how, if at all, has that sort of shaped who you are in the classroom, just as a way of sort of being wary about the world right now?
Yeah, I mean, I wanna first just warn us against like being places where that doesn't happen. I've had students leave my advisory because of my identity being too in your face. And I think this is a pretty progressive school and a pretty progressive state, but I think too often, as a society, we're always like, those kinds of problems are over there. And, you know, I guess like if I lived in Mississippi or something, I wouldn't be able to deny that. But, you know, I think it's important to recognize that this is an issue across the board, everywhere you go. For me, I'm an educator at a big picture school in this model, in this context, because I get to show up as exactly who I am, and I'm not going to have it any other way. And that's just my reality, and that's a privilege that I have, right? And I recognize that entirely. I think that it's also something that, as an individual, you sort of carry and balance. Like, I have little nieces and nephews, and sometimes I'm like, how comfortable do I feel talking about being a lesbian to a kid? And it's something that I have to also balance on my own, as well as in my family, in my school, in my workplace. And I think that the truth is that this is a safety issue often, right? Coming out, being out is a safety issue. I'm privileged in that I get to exist in the way that I am, and be safe and be alive. And that's not true for everybody. And I think that's the scary part, is that to be in these scenarios, you have the risk of losing your job as a teacher, and you have the risk of losing your life as a kid who gets outed. And it's tough, and there isn't a right answer. I would say that, I'm a little older, and some advice that I got from people who were older than me was like, create a space that you can exist in and that you have, and but hold it privately, because it's every individual's person's decision about how much they want to share and how often they want to share, and with who. And I think that's the tough part.
Mm-hmm. I want to add to that.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, just in the sense that, and then tying it back to like it being June 1st, right? And we see these rainbows and we see like love is love. But the reality is it's the safety issue. It's this, for folks, for a lot of people, it's, can I even walk outside? Can I even apply for a job? Can I even keep my job? Or even share, what brings me joy in my life? And that's the love that I have for someone else, without it being a punishment or without receiving, backlash on it. And that's what pride is. That's like the creation of pride, right? Through the Stonewall riots. And I think that needs to be at the forefront as well, aside from like these rainbows and happiness, which we feel, but it's because of the resistance that the community has had for so long and continues to have. And I think that's what the beauty about pride is. Sorry. That's why I was like, yes, Michelle, yes, because it needs to be highlighted in our schools, right? Like bullying still happens, and not just with students, but anyway.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing
that. Michelle, we intentionally keep these things short so they're consumable. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate you joining us to kick off Pride Month. And let's have you on again later on, so that, to your point, we're not just having you here to talk about pride. We're here to talk about effective advisory, what brought you to Big Picture in the first place, what your life is like outside of Big Picture, because I always enjoy talking to you.
And I want to continue the conversation we had. Where was it? St. Louis, Atlanta? I don't remember. If you remember that big bang, that's what needs to be on Cup of Joy.
Facts.
Yes.
All right. You have to catch me up.
All right.
Thank you. Carla, you said something really interesting about Stonewall, and I'm only saying this because I heard it on the radio this morning, NPR. The city of Philadelphia is changing their Pride parade to a Pride march, because they feel like over the years we've gotten away from the meaning of what Pride is. It is a protest. It is a march. It is a representation of why we should have the rights that we have. So it doesn't change that they're walking down the streets, but they thought just sort of framing it as a march gets them back to like the original intent of why Pride exists in the first place. So I thought that was really cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah. How do we usually end these things? I kind of forgot.
Well, I remember you toss it back to me and I say, make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Pretty soon we're going to lay out the schedule for upcoming shows. We wanted to kick this one off on a Wednesday. We're usually doing Mondays and Thursdays, but we did want to kick off Pride Month with you, our viewers, and the two of us. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll be back probably next week.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes. Great to see you.